All right, so we are on YouTube, guys. This is the Peg Warmers Patreon summer stream, and we've got Josh and Liam here, and it's just sort of a general hangout. So if people join us and want to message anything in the comments, we'll talk about it and address it. If anybody else joins us in the live stream, we'll bring them on board.
Sounds good.
You guys having? I guess we were talking a minute ago about having a good weekend. Anybody get anything? Do any toy hunting at all this weekend, or go anywhere recently?
I have recently ordered the Toonie Terrors Victor Crowley figure from NECA.
All right.
Dude, if I turned the camera, I have a whole line of the Toonie Terrors. That's an awesome line.
I recently marathoned all the Hatchet movies like the week before and highly enjoyed them. So I'm like, I got to get Victor Crowley now.
So there's a convention near us called Monster Mania that a friend of Kevin's actually like goes to all the time, and I go to. And the guy who made the Hatchet movies has been there multiple times, and he would sign autographs for free. And then I heard they told him to stop doing that because everybody who was charging money was getting mad that he was doing it. For
Adam
free.
Green.
Yeah, yep, that guy. Yep. I didn't actually get his autograph because I didn't. Think I still don't own a copy of the movie, but I should. They're pretty fun. But yeah, that guy. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a couple shows coming up in the near future, but haven't been to anything super recently because we were in Disney World for vacation, and been a busy summer.
It was probably hot in Disney World.
It was very hot. Yeah. The first 2 days were a little overcast, so it wasn't too bad. And then after that, it was just kind of sweating all the time.
We've had a heat wave on the East Coast, Liam, and the part he was going to is known to be hot when it's not hot. So that's definitely not the place to be in a heat wave. But I'm sure the boys had fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, I have man, I came back from G-Fest broke, so but then it was funny because I'm on the trip back from Chicago and getting all the notifications of the current wave of G.I. Joe Classified arriving, and because I'm on Hasbro Pulse, they send them whenever, so even though I know I'm going to get all 5 or whatever it was, they send like 1, then another, then 2, then 1. You know?
It's very inefficient. I find it very funny for Hasbro Pulse. Like, I get it a little bit for some place like Big Bad Toy Store to send stuff out as it comes in or as they get through the cases. I'm just shocked that Hasbro isn't a little bit more efficient because they're the main company. But I also don't know if it's just some logistics company doing all the shipping. And
that's what backfired on that. If you saw the retro eel with the busted bubble, was because they had to put it in a longer box because of the length of the card, but they hadn't sent it out with the other retros, so there was a lot of space, and I think somebody at FedEx stacked stuff on top of it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's what happened because it just had that crush box look like somebody sat on it, and it just busted the bubble. But thankfully, I'm not a on card guy.
Yeah, that's it's really hard to be an on card collector and rely on postal. You know, like.
I don't know what I would do. I guess I would. I mean, I know some guys. I guess I would just try to see what I can get in store and then go to the cons where you can be picky. Because I don't think I would trust FedEx.
I mean, look at how many people bought stuff on Amazon over the years. Like a collector's like Star Wars ship, and they just slap a label on it and send it to you. I was like, well, now you just put a label over the artwork.
Yeah,
this is not what I was expecting.
That's horrible.
The worst one I ever had was I ordered a Super 7 figure off eBay, and it finally arrived. And what happened was the card got bent in the package, and it was to the point where the plastic blister snapped and the figure slid out.
Oh, wow.
So I open it up, and it's like, I look at it, and I'm like, shit, it's empty. Where's the figure? And I'm like, oh, it fell on the bottom of the package.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. So Australian mail's not any better, huh?
Oh, it depends, really. It's so hit and miss when it comes to ordering stuff from overseas.
Yeah, well, I'd imagine that.
I feel bad for you guys, like, getting anything American, because some of the stuff I hear, that the premiums you have to spend on some figures that are really easy for us to get.
Oh, the shipping is insane at times.
Yeah.
It really is. I pre-ordered the Rebel Moon mini mates because I really wanted them, and like it was around $100 to get them in. But I'm like, man, the Diamond Select toys, they're the only website that are selling them that I can get them from. So
Yeah,
it's
they're
not like
like
I can.
this big, right? Like a pack.
Yeah. It's a pack of 4, and I'm like, well, I can't really go anywhere else to get these. So like, this is it. This is the only option.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I mean, prices are up generally in shipping right now, but that's from what I hear because I follow some other Australians on YouTube, and just the stories I hear about how much you guys are paying to get the American stuff is pretty bad.
But if I want Star Wars or Marvel, I can just walk into my local game shop, and there's about 1,000 of them if I want them. But G.I. Joe or I don't know, any sort of horror themed stuff, no, very limited, sadly.
Mm. I don't remember you posting horror stuff before. Is it just Hatchet you like, or you get like other horror stuff?
Oh, I love all the slasher franchises.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger. I talked a while back about a movie I saw recently called In a Violent Nature. And if you guys like Friday the 13th movies, I highly recommend you see that movie if you can, because man, that movie is great and something else.
Kevin's not too much on slashers, I don't think.
I'm not a huge horror guy. I grew up not really watching horror stuff, and then when I was an adult, I worked at a haunted hayride, and so I went back and watched a lot of the stuff. But there's something about it, I think, where you have to be sort of a certain age to really like become that like diehard horror fan, in my opinion. It sort of passed me by, and I'm watching it like kind of laughing at the effects and stuff.
I think that is normally true, and I don't know if I'm getting off topic, Kevin. If you
No, you're fine.
But I'm kind of like the exception to that because mostly what I hear is exactly what you're saying. And you hear about like the monster kids that grew up to be, fans. But really, like I only became diehard horror, I would say, like in college. So
Okay.
It wasn't like I was real little, and I think it was because of the late '90s boom with Scream. Like I saw Scream in theaters, and then I was like, I got to find out about all these movies they're referencing, and I retroactively got into it.
Jeff's joining us in the chat there. Yeah, I just so many of my like horror friends are like, oh, I was watching horror movies at 6 years old, and I just didn't really do that, and I wasn't even watching them at like 12 and 13, where you're sort of that sweet age of like, oh my gosh, there's some nudity and this blood is amazing kind of stuff.
Not forbidden for you anymore. So
I was 13 when I started watching Friday the 13th, so I was one of those guys that was watching it at an age where I really shouldn't have been. But
that's the age where I think kids like really latch onto that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's sort of a prime age to become like infatuated with the horror stuff. At least from my experience with the people I know that are big horror fans, they were watching it young.
There's that forbidden angle that
I think that's part of it, and just anything
that has about it,
has a little bit of nostalgia to it. Like why do I like 80s cartoons? They're not that great in reality, but I love them because I enjoyed them as a kid. So rewatching them, even if the animation's not great or the stories are a little silly, I'm still like into it. And horror has a little bit of the same nostalgic elements of like sometimes the effects aren't perfect or whatever, but it's kind of like that happy memory of enjoying that years ago.
That's a funny thing though, that is very relevant to like your channel and all of us, that the nostalgia angle that I really think it's, so I'm tail end Gen X, but I think it's kind of my generation, and then the millennials and the Z, these generations that have made such a business of nostalgia, because the boomers don't really have that. Like my mother loved Howdy Doody as a kid, but she doesn't need the complete Howdy Doody on DVD or like replica Howdy Doodies on her shelf. She doesn't care. And I think that's true for most of them. Like my dad had the full GI. He didn't actually have the full GI Joes, but he remembers really wanting them. But he's not going to go buy one now. It's just not part of his like
I think that nostalgia also kind of hits a certain point. Like, I don't know if I'll be as obsessed with any of this stuff when I'm, my parents' age. But like, I got super nostalgic for all this stuff in my 20s and 30s.
Right.
And so again, sometimes it's hitting that sweet spot, and I think the current marketing people are seeing those opportunities, like Street Sharks coming back out for the 30th
Yep.
anniversary and things like that.
Never collected that, but I think the new ones look pretty quality.
They look really nice. I love that they added the articulation to them, but kept the action features.
Which is unusual, right?
I mean, yeah, most of the modern lines are getting rid of the action features just because they don't want to engineer them.
Wait, so Jeff is in chat?
Jeff's in the chat, and minifigure collectors in the chat.
Hi, guys.
Hello, guys. Are you guys interested in getting the new G.I. Joe Rafa Cobra game?
I am tempted. I don't play a lot of video games, but we do have a Switch, and it looks like a lot of fun.
I played the demo. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I would love to play it because I love the Turtles game, but I only have Xbox One, and I'm not planning to get any other systems, so it doesn't look like it's coming to me anytime soon.
Well, it should run on like a very basic PC. Like, it's not a very like graphically demanding game, so
That's
you
true.
should be okay in that regard.
I think they'll open it eventually. I would hope they'll open the platforms down the line, especially if it's a success. It looks cool though.
When is it supposed to come out? Has anybody heard a release date?
They were saying all they said was 2024. That was the only.
Yeah, and that
date
tends
they
to
gave.
be what happens with a lot of those sort of smaller developer games. It's like, oh yeah, here's sort of our time frame, and whether that happens or not is sometimes hard to know. It might end up being December that it comes out or something like that of 2024.
I think the Toxic Crusaders game, they also said 2024.
Yes, but again, I know that they're trying to get that finished up, but everything just takes forever, unfortunately. So hopefully that comes out soon too. But it should be a similar type of game.
Kind of cool that there's like this new wave for Toxic Crusader and Toxic Avenger now that it was like a dead property for a while, and now it's like we got the toys. You got I don't know if Troma's like really hitting the licenses or what, but it was cool.
There was a remake, I think, with Peter Dinklage that's like stuck in release hell at the moment because it premiered at festivals and people said it was good, but now no one knows if it's actually gonna like make a wide release.
Yeah, there was just a headline I saw online yesterday, I think, that said it was unreleasable or something like that. But it felt very much like the kind of headline Troma wants, like, it's so bad it's good kind of thing. But yeah, there's supposed to be a new movie. Super 7 is doing Toxic Crusader toys, and Trick or Treat Studios is doing like sort of resculpts of the Playmates toys, and then Retroware's doing the video game. So there's a lot of stuff coming out for that brand.
I'll grab that one.
Oh, Joshua's got something to show us.
Go Figures joined us in the chat there, and Trevor.
So this is the only one I got, the Super 7.
There you go.
Glow in the Dark Crusader, but he also has it's called what was it called? Like Red Rage or something like that.
Okay.
So the thing is, I didn't realize how it worked. I thought it was like it didn't work well because the glow in the dark's like 3 spots, real little. But the Rage thing, it turns out it needs like direct sunlight, so you can't do it with like desk lamps or through a window. You have to like, take it out. But then he turns red when it like all the screen turns red in the sunlight. It's pretty cool. And he's got his little guy here, American flag on the mop and all that. But it's a pretty quality figure.
I have a blacklight flashlight that works really good for getting figures to glow.
Oh, okay.
Which I bought it years ago for doing reviews. Actually, I think it's right over here. Not that it's going to work because I don't have a glow in the dark figure by me, but
yeah, I don't think it's going to work
through the camera.
But anyway, that one's a cool one. I think you can still find them on like Big Bad and stuff.
Yeah, and I picked up the Toxic Crusader version, which looks like the vintage toy, but in kind of their updated style.
Yeah.
And they're doing a bunch more because they just did a pre-order for a movie style Toxic Avenger. So they're doing a lot of different releases using that license right now from Super 7.
That actually he would be a good one design wise for the line Liam was talking about before some of the guys joined in of the NECA, those Toonie Terrors. If they got the right to do like Toxie would look good
Yeah.
in that line. That would
Oh
be
yeah, that'd fit really well.
Yeah.
He would definitely work for that.
So that when that came out, that was like the way I took it, and I don't know that NECA ever released it, but I take it as inspired by a late 70s cartoon called Groovy Ghoulies
Oh yeah.
that had like your Universal monsters like Dracula and Werewolf and all of that, and they did them in this cartoony style. And when it came out, I thought the idea was it's the spiritual successor of that, so you could get like Michael or Jason as if they were part of Groovy Ghoulies, but they didn't buy the license, so they called it Toonie Terrors. And now they're doing all these. I got to get that Vincent Price. I want the Vincent Price one.
The only Vincent Price figure I have a little, not a PVC, but like a little mini blind bag figure from Edward Scissorhands. I think they might have been Kid Robot figures. And I have, I had a whole box. Like they sent it to me one time. We did like a whole big review of it. But I saved Edward, Vincent Price, and the T-Rex Bush from that line.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, they were just little tiny, little blind bag guys, and the kind of Funko Pop-ish, but they had I forget what the line was, but they were either like Titan was a brand or they were Kid Robot, and I can't think of off the top of my head. Crystal Ball is essentially Vincent Price action figure. That's true. I do have a Crystal Ball figure.
Who said that?
Go figure.
Yeah.
On YouTube.
I find it funny that Kevin, you said you go the only Vincent Price figure I have, like you expect you to have multiple Vincent Price figures.
There's sort of this neat idea nowadays of like collecting creator, and not that he's exactly a creator, but like these creator action figures. And there's George Lucas and Steven Spielberg and Todd McFarlane just got a figure, and there's Stan Lee, lots of Stan Lee figures. And so sometimes some of those actors that are just so iconic, it's sometimes neat to have action figures of those people all kind of together. Reaction was kind of good for that, where you could sort of get these people that are, personalities in an action figure format.
I still have 0 reaction figures because I have to draw the line somewhere.
I got a ton of them when they first came out. I was actually involved, the blog that I used to run, Action Figure Adventures, I was like a consultant when FYE rebranded their stores. And I wrote up these blurbs about reaction figures, and I went to the grand opening of the first store that they rebranded in New Jersey. And so I got a really nice discount on stuff in the store during that grand opening thing. And I bought the T2 figures and the Goonies figures and all the ones that were real early on. Yeah, the Rocketeer Go Figure just mentioned. I had him. And so I had sort of a little shelf in the old toy room at my old house in the SEO videos, sort of behind me on the green wall. There was just a whole bunch of reaction figures. But once that was full, I just sort of stopped buying them.
The cards look good. I could see people who want an on-card display getting a lot of, you could use that and represent, and that excuse me, that would be good for people who want something in their office or something just to represent, but not actually a toy that to play with. I could see doing that kind of thing too.
Yeah, I get a lot of the reactions because I quite like the box art for them, and they're nice and colorful as well.
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's
Kevin.
fun that they do so many different things all in one form factor. I kind of like that. Kind of takes you back to being a kid and having your G.I. Joe and Star Wars guys meet. But they all almost every movie they've got somebody for you that works. But the price has gone up and up and up.
Did they do Tron?
They did.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that. Those looked appropriate.
Yeah, I especially like it for older stuff. It's a little bit weirder when they go with something real mod like Firefly. I don't get it. I don't need a 90s or a 2000s thing done in 70s style action figures format. They did just announce that Super 7 is going to call their O-Ring G.I. Joes Reaction Plus. And that's going to be a form factor that might get used for other toy lines going forward. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in the Kenner style reaction and what they do in the Hasbro style Reaction Plus going forward.
Now that could get me, because I think the whole thing for me is Star Wars. So like Star Wars is the first thing, the Kenner, that I remember as a kid, and I'm just, since I was born late '79, I'm just at the outside of like the Return of the Jedi figures, were like when I was just starting to play with toys before, after being able to swallow them or whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember what changed me, and I like totally abandoned those, was seeing mostly He-Man and its huge size, and then all of the articulation in G.I. Joe. And I never wanted to go back to that form. So to me, it doesn't have that appeal. But I could see the people slightly older than me where Star Wars was their main thing, where they might really love that form factor more than others.
Well, and that form factor was so great for doing vehicles, but there aren't really vehicles in the Reaction toy line. Like they did, Battle Cat and Panther, I think, for the Master of the Universe stuff. And as far as I can remember, those might be the only vehicles. They've done a couple small play sets.
Although G.I. Joe's better for vehicles.
But I mean, they're not really taking advantage of that scale and using it to make a full line of stuff. That's the best thing. That's the whole reason why the exec at Kenner was like, we'll make them this big, right? Was so they could do vehicles.
Right.
So the G.I. Joe style is just superior because it has so much more articulation, whether it's in a vehicle or not.
Yeah, that makes you wonder, too, when you hear those history of toys and, the famous thing of all the lines passing on them. And you think, well, if Mego had taken up the Star Wars license, would it have been a hit? Because they wouldn't have done vehicles. They would have probably had, like, a play set. And that would
Mego did Buck Rogers, and they were G.I. Joe style figures, like O-Ring figures.
Right, yeah.
And they had a couple ships, so it's hard to tell. But, even if they had taken it, would they have just done a few characters and maybe the X-Wing and left it at that versus, like, Kenner built the whole world, and I think that's why it was so successful. It wasn't just, here's the four main characters. It was the four main characters and the four weird aliens and the troopers and the officers and all the vehicles you want. Like, they built the world. They made all those cardboard play sets.
When that wasn't really a thing in toy collecting.
Right. Should I pull up my little slideshow here and see if adds anything to the conversation?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So I mentioned in last week's episode, I'm doing a radio show now called Retro Talk. Helping out a friend with it. So it's literally a live radio station. There is a link in last week's episode where you can listen to the show when they play it back. But like you have to be on their website when it's scheduled. It's very unlike YouTube where you can watch it wherever you want or listen to it wherever you want. There was a replay of Saturday's episode today at 5, and I listened to it. It was the first time I got to hear it after they did a slight edit to it because they had to add in the songs because there's like 4 segments and 4 songs in an episode. So my friend Rose from RetroCon is doing that radio show. And I'm not probably going to be in every episode because I'm not always available to record when she's doing it. But I'm in 3 of the episodes so far, and then eventually they might try and do it live after they kind of get the kinks worked out a little bit. But it's kind of fun. Go to a radio station and record. It feels very much like filming a Peg Warmers, except there's no camera.
What'd you say is the first run time that we should look for it?
So it ran this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So it's already aired.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to do like a podcast version of it later where you can see it, but it should be every Saturday, I think at 5 or every Saturday at 6. I'll get the info. It's in last week's episode in the description, and I'll try and post it again at some point, just in case anybody's interested in hearing it. The first episode was like introductions. We all kind of talked about what we collect and our first cars. And it's very retro in general versus like retro just toys, but because everybody on the show is a toy collector, we do talk about toys a lot. Saturday, I'm going to Toys for the Ages. That's a toy show in Carlisle, PA. I've done episodes about it before, so you guys will probably see my haul from that in an episode. I don't know if there's anybody watching that's living in PA, because that's kind of central PA, but you know, if you're going to be there, make sure you say hi. And then usually I see you, Joshua, at NJCC. I'll most likely go on Sunday. This is going to be in August. They've been doing G.I. Joe themed days on Sunday for the past couple shows. So we'll see how that goes. And then RetroCon, the big show, the one to be at, is going to be in September, the very beginning of September 7th and 8th. This is the show that's run by my friends Rose and Tony, the people that are doing the Retro Talk radio show. And it's my favorite show of the year. If you are a PA, New Jersey, Maryland person and want to come, it's always worth checking it out.
Yeah, I recommend it if somebody is in the chat or whatever hears this that is in distance of that. I think it would even be worth driving some distance for, because they got a lot going on. I've met people there. Last time I was in line with somebody who was there just for John Snyder of Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
She was so excited, and that was all she was going to do. She had her time, her photo op time. She had her, little stack of things to get signed by him, and she was just like waiting around the corner from the Dukes of Hazzard table. But they had a replica generally there too. There's a lot going on at RetroCon. I recommend it to people.
Yeah, it's a great show for vendor hall. If you're looking to buy toys, it's also good if you want to meet guests. They have a pretty good selection of people. They're having $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman this year.
Yep.
They're having a couple people from Happy Days. They're getting the voice of Michelangelo, the main guy and girl from The Last Starfighter. So there's going to be quite a few guests there, and they have a trivia contest and panels and all the other trappings of a convention. Yeah, go figure. This is the one in Oaks, PA. 8 hours away. Maybe a road trip in order. You got to say hi if you make it out. You got to find me in the crowd and say hi.
It's a big enough show for a road trip. It's not like Kevin and I both go to some small shows, but this isn't one of them. It fills a convention center.
Yeah, it's a much bigger show than like a little.
Yeah, you can easily spend your whole day, with stuff to do if you're into toys and retro culture.
All right, so new to the collection, we got something here from Liam. Sent me these pictures earlier. Liam, you want to talk about your newest acquisitions?
Yes. First up is Korra from Rebel Moon. That is a movie that has a very mixed fan base. I personally love it. It's a lot of fun if you haven't seen it. It's definitely Star Wars inspired, but there's colorful characters, there's fun action. It's a good time, and it's on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, you have nothing to lose if you watch it.
It's definitely a movie I've been meaning to check out, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I think
for me.
Oh, I forgot what the date was, but I think sometime in August next month, Zack Snyder is releasing his extended cut of both parts.
Okay.
And there is also a 6-part podcast on Spotify that they're going to do, which is kind of an origin story for one of the characters in the film, Jimmy the android, voiced by Anthony Hopkins.
Huh.
So yeah, there's a lot going on for Rebel Moon. Zack Snyder is really trying to make it a big franchise with multiple films, comics, TV shows, and audio dramas and stuff. And it's cool. I really like it.
That's interesting. Anthony Hopkins doing voice work. He's not like one of those guys that's always doing voices. That's interesting.
Yeah, but look, Anthony Hopkins is good.
I was a huge Anthony Hopkins fan, like in my teenage years, like just trying to watch anything he was in. So yeah, that's a good guy to know that's in that movie, or at least his voice.
Yeah, well, he's only a bit part in the first movie, but he plays a bigger role in the second.
Okay,
Because the first movie is like recruiting people for the big battle, and then the second movie is the big battle.
Mhm.
gotcha.
So it's definitely a movie you need to watch in a marathon run or something.
Okay.
And the director's cuts that are coming out, they're both over 3 hours each, so there's even more content.
It's coming.
And the
And-
second figure I got is Dr. Jurgen Voller from Dial of Destiny Adventure series. I'm getting quite hyped for the new Indiana Jones game, so I'm grabbing up a bunch of Indiana Jones related items that are on sale at the moment.
Okay.
I
How-
quite liked.
Okay, you like the movie?
Yeah, I did. I liked Dial of Destiny. It's probably the weakest of the series, I'd say, but still really enjoyed it. And Mads Mikkelsen was great.
How many figures do you have from that line?
Only 2 so far because
Okay.
they were a bit expensive when they came out, so
Mhm.
I'm trying to swoop up some on sale.
Gotcha.
The other adventure series I have is Helena Shaw,
Okay.
so it's just those 2 at the moment.
Is that
Gotcha.
done? Is that series done now, or
I think so. I heard reportings online it didn't really sell very well,
Yeah.
and neither did the retro collection. So I
Yeah,
think
the
in
Indiana
terms of-
Jones toys did not perform as well as they had hoped.
it's a shame because that the series Liam's showing there, I think they look good, and I'd like to get some of the the classic characters. I just passed. I guess that makes me part of the problem of it failing, but I just don't know where like Jones would fit into my collection. Like I kind of have the spaces set aside for everything, and I don't know where I would stick them. So
the biggest thing that irks me about the line is that a lot of them are just like Indiana Jones in different outfits. And, like, I don't really want that. Like, I want Indiana Jones and like a bunch of other characters that he fought and interacted with, you know?
and there's a lot you could do with that. Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of side characters.
Like, I
Yeah.
get there's
main-
maybe a bit of uncomfortableness about the fact that like some of the characters are Nazis and stuff like that, but you know, you could censor the logo and stuff.
Yeah, the bad guys are all a little bit touchy to deal with, and then they figure, well, the main character will sell, but Indy's not that interesting in just slight variations of the same outfit or
Yeah.
completely different outfits that just sort of make him look like Harrison Ford in a suit, or you know, like it unless you're really Indiana Jones, you don't necessarily look at it and go, "Oh, that's Indiana Jones" right away. You know, when he's
And
not in his jacket and his hat.
and there's not a single character from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in the adventure series. I'm like, you could have easily done the Kate Blanchett or the big Russian bad guy soldier he fights. You could have easily done that, but just no, it's some Indiana Jones variants, few Marions and some classic characters, but that was it. And I'm like, man, that's only just scraping the surface of the potential.
I picked up a few of the retro figures that look like the old Kenner ones, but that was all I grabbed.
I saw some pictures of I forget the bad guy with his priest robes from the end of Raiders, and I thought they
Belloc.
looked good for that. What was that?
Belloc,
Yeah, Bella.
played by
Yep.
Paul Newman.
I thought that looked pretty cool, even in the retro. Small
Yeah, well, that
suite.
was neat because he was like a mail away figure in the original run, so he's kind of hard to get your hands on.
Oh no, I said that wrong. It was Paul Freeman, not Paul Newman. Paul Newman was Butch Cassidy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't even hear you say that when you said Belloc. I was like, that's the guy. But I was like, I like that toy. It just says someone who did Bible studies because what he's wearing is what's actually described as what the priest wears. And Lucas and Spielberg were really careful about recreating that. So he's dressed like a Hebrew old priest, a high priest. So it's interesting to me to see them recreate it. But the Salo figure, that would be awesome.
So I recently
Yeah.
got the Night Creeper, trying to get it without the lights glaring on it. This figure looks fantastic. I haven't taken him out of the package yet, but I like that they did the two different heads. The one is very much the Ninja Force head, just not in those colors. So I thought that was kind of an interesting inclusion. But he looks great.
Yep, I got him. He's open. I got him out there. He's got one sword in hand.
And then, of course,
the other hand is a star throwing hand.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I've got Beachhead here in the retro card. Josh actually ordered me a Beachhead off of Hasbro Pulse because he has the Premier or the premium account, just to make sure I could get one. And then once they went on sale for everybody else, I ordered a second one. And then when I picked the one up from Josh here in the next few days, I'm going to see which one has the nicest card. One I'm going to keep card, the other one I'm going to open up. But pretty excited
that
to
card. That
just
card
gotten him.
stock's a lot better now.
Yeah, these were really thin. Now they've kind of beefed them up, which is nice.
Who's the artist that does all the illustrations? Do you guys know?
I don't know. I don't think it's the same person that was doing them for 25th anniversary. And I don't know that guy's name either, but I met him once. I've forgotten what his name is now, but he was at a con I was at. But both of these people are doing a nice job of sort of redoing vintage style artwork.
Yeah,
I like
that
these actually match
artists, because if you check out some old episodes of Full Force podcast, they've interviewed at least one, maybe two of the artists, but they've had multiple ones. So if it looks like a different style, it probably is. So I don't know who did the retro because they look consistent to me. Like
yeah, the classifieds. Every so often, you notice the artist changes on those or the style changes on those. But the retro ones have been very consistent, and I like that they're stylistically like the vintage art, but they're clearly updated to match this figure that's in the package. Like the Scarlet figure has her little extra quiver thing on her that they added to the figure. That kind of stuff is kind of a nice little touch. Like they're very prominently showing Beachhead's knife holster and pistol holster there that are, less prominent details on a vintage figure where it's just sort of a sculpted on bump on the side of the leg.
Well, and at a glance, you can tell that it's a different figure than the first release classified,
right?
Just from the artwork, even if you weren't looking at the figure.
Yep. Oh, look at this.
Yay.
Toy, you there?
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. We got somebody else.
Hey, what's going on, you guys?
So you're in the airport currently?
Does it say I'm in an airport?
No, I thought you told me you were going to be in an airport.
No, I was doing every collector's worst nightmare and emptying out a storage container.
Oh,
so I'm juggling storage containers right now because the storage place is like, you're going to pay $300 a month. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Oh, my goodness.
So we got another storage in someone else's name, and we're moving everything over there for $100 a month. So
they do give you a better rate for your first month, and then they usually jack it up. Which
they have some sort of crazy robot that like does an algorithm, and it's like, all right, how much of a sucker are you? Because it raises like every few months, and it started out at like 80 back in 2020, and now it's up to 300. And I complained about it on the Better Business, and they lowered it to 200. But they're like, but that's only for 6 months, and then you gotta, take it. And I was like, no, it's okay. It'll give me time to plan. So.
It was the flail who was in the airport. I'm sorry, I got a correction on the comments. I knew it was somebody that I talked to frequently, and I just got the wires crossed.
Is he stuck there because of the outage?
No, I think he's just traveling.
Okay. Yeah, you got to be careful because if you have anything that's involving a computer, it's very precarious at the moment.
That's what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been like that. The grocery store I work at, some of the registers are out. I didn't realize it was worldwide.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's everywhere.
Huge. It's been making headlines. A lot of the international airports have cancellations and shutdowns and things, or did a couple days ago.
I wish we had like Cobra plots for world domination instead of the current, where it's just like, yeah, things just break because everyone has their chickens and eggs in one basket.
I'm sure Cobra Commander could exploit it somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just like at home doing my thing, and like I look at like my like web news, and it's like the Kmart near me is like having outages. I'm like, oh man, that sucks for them. And then like, oh, another store in that mall's having an outage. Oh shit, another place across town is. Oh crap, it's in the United States.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah, I work in cybersecurity, so I'm kind of dreading tomorrow because I don't know how much of our stuff's in cyber in CrowdStrike. So we'll find out. You may not hear from me in a while. I'll
You may
disappear.
just be busy.
Yeah.
So how much stuff do you have to move? Like how big of a unit or how many totes do you think this is? Is it like a pickup truck load or?
I had a 10 by 10, and I was honestly just half of it was cardboard boxes for my move because I was like, I'll put them here. And we got everything out and put it into the other unit that I have now. So we filled up an entire 10 by 10 with their stuff and my stuff, clearly divided down the line. And now I'm just like throwing stuff away or moving things into where I'm at.
Yeah.
So it's always fun. And you're looking in these boxes, you're like, why do I have this? What is this?
There's so much stuff that I moved here. And I tried to get rid of stuff before I moved. I wasn't emotionally ready to get rid of as much stuff as I needed to. And now that it's here, I look at some of this stuff and I go, why did I pack this? Why did I pay to store this? Why am I still moving it around?
It's one of those things. It gets easier the more you do it, I think.
I think so too.
Once you start that ball rolling down the hill, it's like, yeah, get rid of that too. Yeah, get rid of that. Because you get rid of some stuff and you're like, well, I'm still here.
Yeah.
You know?
I think my biggest problem was it was very much we didn't know where we were going to end up. Like I was moving out of my house and my wife was going to sell her house. And who knows what would be useful? Like what furniture will we need in the new house? I don't know what the new house is going to look like.
How many waves of Ninja Turtles do we need in here?
Yes.
Which are the most crucial to your future married life?
Yeah, there, and it kills me now because I still have like totes down here, and it drives me nuts. Like I want everything displayed and out, and not be like moving stuff around. I did empty a bunch more stuff out recently. I've been finding a lot of stuff to get rid of to like sell from my collection that I'm just like I don't need all of this stuff. Like there's just too many versions of the Power Rangers, or I have some Star Wars vehicles that I bought at yard sales because they were too cheap to pass up, but like they're missing a part, and I was like, oh, I might find that part, and it's like it's been a decade, it's been 15 years, it's been 20 years. I never found that hatch to that TIE fighter. It's time for it to go. You know.
Yeah, if you don't even remember what it is, it's not in your mind. It's not important.
Yeah.
Are you making? Well, it's a tax question, but if you have any sort of tax write-off for your podcast, you could just donate it and say, yeah, it's a donation. Write it off.
True. That's true. I could do it. I could do some sort of write-off with that. I mostly just take it to toy shows and sell it and use that to just kind of, generate some income to turn back into other toy stuff,
I had a bunch of subscription box stuff from the 2017 to 2020 that I had gotten. And it's all the stuff I didn't care about. I'd pick one item out of whatever I got, and then there's just the leftover. I literally just dropped it off on my friend's porch like an hour ago and said, he goes to the comic shop. And I'm like, dude, just sell this, make money off of it, get your store credit, because that's how they do things, and I think you'll be happy. But there was just like, that was a cardboard box full. Not too bad.
I had so many like Loot Crate subscriptions. For a while they were working with my MCN, and so I was getting like Loot Crate and Loot Crate Deluxe and Loot Anime and something else, I think. So usually I would take one thing, oftentimes the t-shirt, and maybe there was something else I cared about, and I would take everything else to the school I work at, and they had like a little store that kids could convert these like tickets for being good kind of stuff. And get the prize. The middle school kids loved all the stuff that I was bringing in all the time.
Oh, definitely. Kids are dumb. They love that junk. They're like, oh, this is great. I found so much junk in these boxes. There's like a tote bag for Amityville. Just, right? That makes sense.
Yeah. Use it when you go to the beach.
Yeah, exactly. I need to remember that when I go to Long Island.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I think when I decluttered, I couldn't really be bothered trying to think of like how much can I sell it for. I'm like, I just took it all to like a local op shop and just
That's-
donate it all.
Yeah.
It's that you got to think about the time that's invested in it.
Because like I was decluttering a bunch of stuff, and like I randomly found all these Walking Dead pop vinyls, and it's like I don't even remember buying these because I'm like, I guess I was watching Walking Dead at the time, but like I don't think I've even seen past like season 4 or 5. I think I stopped very early.
I literally have one of those because it came in a loot crate, and it's one of those knockoff brands. It's not the main lines like it's some knockoff one like Dorby's or whatever it was. It's just the
Yeah.
weirdest.
Oh yeah.
You're like, what is this?
There were so many like chibi style inspired figurine
Yep.
lines like Funko at the time.
Yep. That's going to be a weird part of history. Everybody wanted something small and looked ugly. It's like, why?
I've stopped buying Funkos only with very, very rare exceptions.
I found some I didn't know I had. I have a Riker and a Picard, and I was like, well, I can't toss those because I do like those two. That's where they get you. Yeah, there we go.
So when these came out, that was like early Funko time, but I remember. So that's him when his horns, when Hellboy's horns go back in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Glows in the dark. And I know for years, like in my Amazon wish list, and it's probably still there, I had the regular style, so you have the short horns with the T-shirt is on my wish list, and I still kind of, if I saw them, I would get it, but I actually like these more than Funko.
Yeah, I like those. Those aren't bad. The Funko, it's the whole style is just kind of off-putting now because of how ubiquitous it is.
Yeah, that although now it's a downward, right? I don't think, like Liam said, he got rid of them. I don't think you can sell them for a lot unless it's a like really rare, a special convention exclusive or store exclusive, something like that.
I know I walk by stores in the mall and they're just walls of them still, and it feels like it's been that way since pre-pandemic. It's like, what? Who is buying these? It seems like it would just be collectors.
Yeah, I mean, I know a couple kids that collect them, but not a ton.
Yeah.
And the ones they would be interested in are very different, probably, than the ones we're interested in, with maybe a little bit of overlap in like some superheroes or whatever. But like the nostalgia based ones aren't going to be popular with kids, whereas the kids would want stuff from like a current movie or a current video.
Yeah,
game, like that.
they've reached market saturation, so the only way forward is just everything new must become a Funko. There's going to be a Donald Trump assassination Funko or some you know.
Well, they did Jason Kelsey from the Eagles with his shirt off at his brother's game, you know.
Yeah.
That was the one where they almost got me to buy another one. I almost bought that one.
Hey, now you could do a Wawa Hoagie Fest exclusive, right?
Yeah.
I think there is a Donald Trump like pop that got made, so you could just buy that and like stick a Band-Aid on the ear or something.
Yeah.
Probably has his own brand, let's be honest.
Yeah,
But
people-
I think you're right. I think it's probably saturation now. I think it's probably downward, but I don't mean to rag on it for those who that's their thing.
I like plenty of dumb stuff. If you like your stuff, that's fine. Don't listen to me. I'm just talking about I have very limited space, so I have to be very judicious with what I'm going to put in here.
Yep.
My name is Toy, but I literally don't do many toys. I have them, but not a lot. I just like to watch this show because it's kind of like, you know, I get to live through you guys and your experiences on collecting. I get to keep in touch with what's there. Don't have to spend any money. It's great.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things that I live vicariously through people online where I just enjoy something from a hobby, you know, or whatever it is. Seeing other people's woodworking shops, seeing people paint miniatures, well, you know, things people collect that I just am not dealing with. You know, I collect a lot of stuff, but got to draw a line somewhere.
I did buy a Funko Pop this year, so I'm not immune from them.
There you go.
Oh man.
Oh, I see a Wayland Yutani.
Yeah, I was going to show you what I do collect, but
we lost him. Maybe he'll be back.
He revealed
back,
his secrets and we lost him.
Hi, Gregory mentioned that he learned today how Funko Pop is able to use so many licenses. That's something I don't know for sure. I assume I assume they get certain licenses cheap because they don't actually need the person's likeness. Now, to do a Jason Kelsey or to do a Donald Trump, they probably need to pay that person something because it's their name.
I could see that where they might split that line between character and
Right. But to
actor
do
likeness for
a Power
something.
Ranger or a G.I. Joe, there's no likeness. They just have to pay the person who
Oh.
like owns that thing.
You reminded me when you brought up actor likeness. I remember you were on a previous episode and you were talking. Apparently, the Mummy pop vinyl with Tom Cruise. Apparently, they didn't have permission to use his face.
Yeah.
So that got recalled.
Well, so I don't know if it was his face, but he doesn't allow action figures to be made of himself now.
That's weird. You think like it would be a big money maker, and you sign off and they pay for your likeness. It'd be easy money.
I'm not sure if it's some Scientology thing or just a Tom Cruise
Probably
thing.
is.
Tom Cruise is rich enough. He's probably thinking, I don't really need that.
I don't
Yeah,
think he does.
I wonder if the early like terrible Mission Impossible figures came out and he was just like, "This is ridiculous. I don't want this anymore."
I think that's technically the only thing that is considered a licensed product of him, right? That thing that doesn't look anything like him.
Yeah, I think so.
Impossible. So what are we looking at, Toy?
I was going to show you. I just flipped my camera and hit the back button instead because I'm old. So this is what I collect mostly. These are from something called Cryptocurium, which is it's like a loot box from back in the day that I still collect. But this guy does handmade, I guess statuettes is what you'd call them. So this is the Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe. And basically, I think it's like maybe $30, $40 a month, and I get just small handmade stuff like this, which is kind of appealing to me.
Yeah.
But these he does all sorts of it's mostly horror themed. But the current theme he's on this year is monsters. I think he just ran out of ideas. He's like, if it's a monster, it's in there. Because last 2 months we got No Face.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Well, see, I like that idea of having something like Mask of the Red Death because that kind of shows that's something to talk about when you have people looking.
They're really, really detailed and just wicked. And he did a whole series on Dante's Inferno. That is some of the most wicked statuettes I've ever seen. They're just incredibly detailed and disturbing. And I can't have them out in my main area where I have guests over because they're going to think I'm a Satanist or something. It's wild.
Yeah, you do have to be careful what people think of you based on what you have sitting out in the public spaces of your house or apartment.
Yeah.
I used to have like a Hellraiser type toy. It wasn't technically Hellraiser, but it was from Barker. It was called Tortured Souls. And some people, like I forget it, like my pastor saw it or something, and I was just like, whatever. I said something about it, but it's not out anymore in my public display.
I also collect weird stuff. This is something my friend got this monkey at a thrift store, and then he made a 3D printed a mask for it.
Okay,
I think that's the coolest thing. Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, handmade stuff is the bomb. I love it.
Now you could do a little horror story just about that because there's so many monkey stories.
Oh yeah, that's Dean Koontz's version of the Stephen King monkey story. I'm gonna see if I can show you guys some of these other ones, but I got to go through my home. Oh, it's very treacherous. There's boxes everywhere. Great tumult has happened. Okay, so here's everything over. This thing's gigantic, but it's like a devil. Like, I cannot show that in good public, but it's so cool.
Yeah.
This is detailed. Yeah,
it's super detailed. It's got a face on its chest. That's just
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So where does this guy sell? Where do you?
It's on the internet. If you look up Cryptocurium.
Cryptocurium.
Yeah, he's been doing it forever. I think his name's Jason. This is one of the Knights of Hell. Like, it's wild. I mean,
And you just have him sitting next to an X-wing.
yeah. Well,
My collection's like that too.
trust me, space is at a premium.
We all understand.
Yeah. and I got my Gamras.
Oh, that's cool.
Love it.
This is they're Garage Toys, Garage EX or something from Japan. They're real nifty. But thrown in next to the Skeletor Christmas ornament. Why not?
Yeah, but all my kaiju stuff is in my bedroom. Although it's relevant to say I'm single, so that's why.
I've got a series of Godzillas on the speaker on the back of my bed because my cat likes to walk up there. So I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll put some of these up there, and you won't walk across there and jump on my head. And now she just like waltzes around it and laughs at me.
Yeah, they're good at that. They're good at that.
Yeah.
It's funny, my cat. So I have to be careful in this room. I'm in my collection room, and I don't leave it open so the cats can't get in here. But they're pretty good at when I'm here. They'll mostly walk through things and not knock them over. But I can't leave them for hours, or they'll just start knocking stuff down for fun.
Yeah.
Mine leave my junk alone. Now my maid, she'll come in there and just demolish everything. And I'll be like, please don't dust it. Just don't dust those things. Just get the floor. That's all it's about. But, anything else, I come in here and it's funny because they'll just break something and they'll really break it. And they just leave it. They don't even mention it to you. They're just like, yeah, you'll find it.
How'd that happen? That earthquake?
Yeah.
I saw something, Kevin, if you don't mind me bringing up. So somebody, I've been really thinking about the dusting situation. So this room, which Kevin has seen a few times, I'd probably do a good cleaning like 2 or 3 times a year because it's just such a pain. It's like an all-day thing. But at G-Fest this past month, I was just talking to some people who were recommending these dusters like you use for your keyboard. Love Hedera stuff. But they were saying like there's you can have it like it's actually a machine, like basically like a hairdryer, but meant for blowing dust. I was wondering if anybody here or in the chat uses that kind of thing because I'm thinking of looking into it so I could dust like my vintage He-Man collection without having to get there with a toothbrush or something.
I've used compressed air, but you got to be super careful to not like overblow and you knock everything over.
You got a vacuum that you can reverse, and it's made for dusting stuff, but it would like blow something over. If you held it, it would be okay.
So the ones that I was hearing about are actually kind of like are electric, so not just compressed air. So I guess you could kind of choose like the heavy or the low setting.
Okay.
And
that's what I have.
You don't have like compressed air. You would be spending a lot. You'd go through like I'd go through like 6 of them to clean this room. But
this is a handheld vacuum, and it's got a filter, and it's powerful. Because I did stuff off.
You use a hand vac. That's cool.
Yeah, it would be very powerful. It'd blow everything off. It'd be. Oh, it'd get dusted, but it might also get destroyed.
I did a gag video one year about what I was doing because I wasn't at SDCC, and I mentioned dusting, but I on purpose used the spray bottle and just blew everything off a shelf just to be funny in the video.
I seriously probably 80% of my damages or problems have been either during dusting or soon after that I put something back and it wasn't secure enough, and half a day later it's on the floor and a hand's broken or something.
Yeah, it's a continuous issue.
Yeah, and I don't want to be one of those guys with all the cases only, which they look great, but I kind of like being able to like move the stuff and pick it up and all of that.
The cases help with the dust, but they don't resolve the problem of stuff falling over. And then you have to try and open the door of the case and not have it knock things out on the floor.
That could be a podcast episode. You open up your case and see how much stuff you can get out without knocking something over. Take bets.
Yeah.
I bet you can't get that out without knocking everything over.
So one of the other things, actually, speaking about episodes, I have a list of some episode ideas that I've got going on here that I thought I'd bring up and see if people had any feedback or whatever. Setting up the toy room, I have a carded figure wall. I've referenced it a few times in videos, and I've used it as a background in some cut-ins. That's actually going to be this week's episode, kind of showing that off and talking about setting it up a little bit. And then very soon we're gonna have a RoboCop episode with Tony and Ryan. That's already been filmed. It's the next one to get edited for that. And then
Like history or Kenner?
the
first?
Kenner RoboCop, the RoboCop and the Ultra Police toy line.
Yep.
We don't have everything, but I have a pretty considerate amount of the stuff. I'm missing some of the vehicles and one or two figures maybe, but it's kind of like the Terminator video we just did where we go through the majority of the toy line. We're going to be doing RoboCop.
They had pop gun elements to them. You could stick little ammo things in them and they would make smoke, and you recreate all the favorite childhood moments of people getting blown away on RoboCop.
Yep. So that's going to be coming up soon. And then the rest of these are all things that I'm like debating or talking about, thinking about doing. I have an episode that I'm sort of kind of workshopping a title for. Sometimes I'm trying to do titles that I think might help entice some new people once in a while. Some of them it's so obvious. It's the T2 line, but like if it's something a little bit more obscure, like I recently bought a childhood friends G.I. Joe collection, and I'm thinking about referencing some other childhood friends whose toys I've bought also. So I'm going around with working with the idea of like schoolyard deals, and I might use like old yearbook photos of these people from when they were like 6.
Yeah.
And show and mostly just sort through this one guy's collection, but reference these other two guys. Because there's something that I have from each one of these 3 collections that sort of goes together. And so that's kind of why I was going to do a kind of broader story there.
Okay, so schoolyard deals, I thought you meant like when you're a kid and you're like,
yeah, I mean, that's
you Palpatine for
that's kind of what I wanted to start with it and talk a little bit about trading in the schoolyard as a kid, and then sort of connect it to buying people's childhood collections now from elementary school friends, kind of thing.
Because they know you're into toys. They're like, hey, man.
Yeah, well, people sometimes reach out to you, or I just see something on Marketplace, and I'm like, oh, I know that person. And as soon as I reach out, they're like, yeah, it's yours, like that,
Wow.
They just take it down because we can work it out, and they know I'm not going to stiff them. Like half the people on Marketplace are, deadbeats. So then we can just set it up low pressure and like, okay.
Oh, you're not going to ask them how low can you go?
No, I don't do that with people I know for sure. I actually find that very hard sometimes trying to, if somebody tells me, well, what do you think it's worth or whatever, I feel bad because I don't want to make somebody feel like I'm lowballing them. Like I'd rather them name a price and me be like, oh, I'm okay. It's I don't know. It's really tricky, I think, to try and do that. Because I don't want to insult somebody that I know. It's a little bit easier when it's, somebody on the internet. You can say, this is what I'm willing to pay, and they can just say, no, thank you. And, we move about our day. And if they think I'm a jerk, oh, well.
You got to get them on a video call and then just show them like your entire room. Like, you want to end up like me?
Right.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Just give it to me.
The dangers of look how much you want to get rid of this stuff before this happens.
This is where you end up, man. It's not a good place. Scared straight for toy collectors, yeah.
So then I'm thinking about doing something. I want to do some more G.I. Joe stuff. I did that, like, did G.I. Joe Go 2 Sci-Fi in 1986 video, which just started out as a bat review, and I was like, how do I make this, a bigger video? Because I'm trying to make everything be at least 20 minutes or maybe a half hour. And so I've been going back and forth. I actually had an idea for doing like a snow mission video.
Oh.
And I took pictures actually this winter of almost all the Snow Joes. One of them I could not find in my collection. I have him. Couldn't figure out where he was stored. So I'm like short B-roll of one figure for Arctic stuff. So I could still do that video, and that one guy just isn't going to have as cool of a photo as the rest of them. But I'm trying to decide if I should do something more by year or do it by speciality. I don't want to just blow through like all the figures from 1986 in one video necessarily, but also doing the speciality ones feels difficult because it's like easy to not be able to find somebody or forget about somebody, and leaving somebody out of a video by accident kind of ruins the thing if you're sort of ranking them all or something, and it's like, oh shoot, I forgot there was that other desert guy.
Utilize your tools, go in your Discord. Hey guys, which of these am I missing?
And
Yeah,
then
he's done that a couple times.
Yeah, I mean,
I love Arctic Mission, man. That's like I love art. I've always liked any line. I've always liked the snow figures. You should save that for winter, though. If you did.
Yes, so it will probably not get edited until next winter because it just feels weird to put it out in the summer, and we're heading into the fall now anyway. Basically, where the summer's going to go fast here. So I also have a bunch of Marvel shapeshifters. They're like transformery Marvel superheroes that turn into like animals. I have a stack of them. And I think it's where the Punisher figure came from, the famous Punisher figure where he like turns into a gun, but he's kind of obscene looking, halfway transformed. I don't have the Punisher one, but obviously I'll talk about him in the video. So I'm thinking about doing that at some point. And I just picked up a bin of Jurassic Park vehicles. It's mostly like Jurassic Park 2 and 3, I think. But I was thinking about trying to do something with that. And I'm working on something else with my Star Wars collection and stuff down here in the basement. So there might be another, setting up the toy room video in a couple months, once I get through a few more of these topics here. And sometimes stuff sits for a while. Like the Marvel shapeshifters have been down here for maybe a year, and I just haven't ever gotten around to shooting that video. I don't quite have a hook figured out or whatever, even the Schoolyard. I bought that guy's collection.
The shapeshifter one, you have to get the Punisher one, and that has to be the phone mail.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like I either need to wait and get him or just, find somebody that has him that can borrow it or something, And sometimes things like this, I'll be thinking about it so that way when I go to a show like RetroCon, I'm like, okay, this is the one piece I need to finish this video or something like that.
I've never seen him in person, the Punisher.
I have seen him before.
Okay.
I don't actually really care to own those shapeshifter figures when the video's done. They came in a collection I bought, and I was like, there's too many of them not to do a video about them.
Right.
But when the video is done, like, I'm probably going to get rid of all of them because I don't really like action figures that transform into other things like that. Like, if it's a robot, it makes sense, like Transformers. But like the Ninja Turtles that mutate,
yeah,
I'm just not into that. I get that it's a gimmick kids like, but I just personally don't care to display that. So,
no, it makes sense.
So anyway, that's a little bit of what's possibly coming down the pipeline. I love getting people's feedback on it. Some of the guys on the Discord, once in a while, I'll throw out ideas, or someone will throw an idea at me. I have a whole list with Tony and Ryan of stuff that we're talking about doing eventually. We just sort of pick a date eventually, and like we try and shoot 2 at the same time, and then I put them out like 1 a month. That way we're not having to try to get together constantly, because it's 3 people's schedules, and Tony's shooting like all the time. I mean, his episodes are long, so if he shoots a Hack of Movies episode, it ties up his whole evening basically. So you know what I mean? It's not like, whereas when we do the Peg Warmers ones, I can get together with him and we shoot 2 back to back in the amount of time it takes him to do a review.
Yeah.
And he's got to edit all that stuff. So, and then we need Ryan to be available. And, I try to be here when the kids are here and try and do more of this YouTube stuff when they're not, but without doing so much that I'm like abandoning my wife on all the nights that the kids aren't here. So it's finding that balance. But yeah, somebody just mentioned the comic of the Marvel Toy Biz stuff being super fun. Yeah, I'm also trying to keep the variety of the channel up. I actually had thought about leaning even harder into G.I. Joe when Hooded Cobra Commander told me he was going to retire, because I actually knew that was coming for a while before it happened. And I was like, well, maybe I should lean into it if it's going to create like a void in the community. But I kind of like where Peg Warmers is. I like that it's Joe heavy, but not totally Joe. And so I didn't really, other than like plotting some ideas, like jotting a few ideas down on paper, like the 86 sci-fi thing and then the snow mission thing. I didn't really like execute on the concept of like, oh, maybe I should do more Joe stuff than normal. I mean, I pretty much have a G.I. Joe thing probably every month anyway. Whether it's, a heavy, like, classifies new to the collection episode or a G.I. Joe news kind of thing. And of course, that whole list might get derailed with a classified news video after Comic-Con. You know, there could be a ton of news to talk about with the HasLab and all that other stuff.
Or there'll be at least one thing.
Yeah, but I mean, there'll probably be a ton of reveals, and so I usually try and do an episode, you know, tying into that kind of stuff.
What was funny when you were doing the Farpoint episodes, it's like somehow G.I. Joe got mentioned that every time, even if it was like My Little Pony or something.
Yep.
G.I. Joe got mentioned.
So I have been in touch with them. Actually, so I was at Too Many Games right after I got back from Disney. Actually, I was home for one day between Disney and then Too Many Games, which is a huge convention in Oaks. And Penelope was there to meet one of the voice actors. And so we did touch base, and we're talking about trying to shoot again. It's been really hard. Like their schedule and my schedule don't match up well. Like they're just busy running a store and doing all their other stuff that they do. And I don't know. It just we haven't reconnected, even though we've talked about it. And so hopefully eventually we get back to doing it. I would like to do some more with them because they're just fun people. And they also, kind of like I was saying with like the Marvel stuff, like they have such cool stuff to show off with them having a museum. There's so many toy lines. It opens us up to new things. Like doing the videos with Tony and Ryan. Ryan has a lot of movie-based toys. So like the RoboCop video is mostly mine, but the Terminator video is mostly his. So, you know, it helps get more stuff on the channel if I don't have to complete every line myself that we talk about.
Do they do like events at their store?
What's that?
Do they do events at their store?
So they have a show called It's a Toy Show. That's a free show. It's a free to attend, and they have people just out in the like parking lot area setting up as a toy show. And they also do a little thing called Dr. Fossil Day, but that's a much smaller scale event, but they kind of do like a little yard sale kind of thing.
You should do a video during some of those events. Just, you know, man on the street, walk around.
There are some videos. If you search for It's a Toy Show, you'll find some videos that I've done there. You know, just kind of showing the sights and sounds and some of the stuff I picked up. I would like to get a better like microphone system for recording on the go.
Mm-hmm.
I find that the handheld camera I have just doesn't sound great. And I did some filming for this week's episode using my phone and was surprised at how weird the audio levels get. Like some clips were just very loud and some were really quiet. And I was like, I was surprised. And I don't know if that was just where I was holding the phone from my hand. Anyway,
probably.
I would like to do something that would be a little bit more reliable in that area to be able to make that kind of thing a little bit easier. But yeah, no, I think that kind of stuff's a great idea.
So if I had any tech skills, what I really would like to do for something like, and I picture Pixel Dam would be perfect for this, is to take the wolf head from Snake Mountain and convert that to a Bluetooth microphone to just walk around.
It'd be fantastic. There was a guy, Keith Apicary, who's like a goofy video game. It's actually a character. A guy plays him. But he used to have the Sega, like the orange gun from Sega, and had a mic in it, and he would aim it at people's faces. Would people be very like off put by having this bright orange gun put in their face, but it was a microphone. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
all right, guys. Yeah. We've been on here for over an hour. I really appreciate everybody joining us. I hope
it's been good.
I hope you guys had a good time, but I'm gonna get going because I'm gonna eat some dinner with my wife. It's like 9:44 here on Sunday night, and
can I show you the Defo reels before you go?
Yes, please do.
So these were the new which
there you go. These are what you picked up at G Fest.
Yeah, so this is my first time getting the X Plus line.
Those are the garage toys.
Yep, that's what it said on them too. So this is from the Godzilla versus Megalon. They're both from the same series, so it's the kind of goofier Godzilla with the smiley face. But
Cookie Monster Godzilla.
I have a ton of Bandai, the 6-inch figures, but I haven't dipped into the X Plus, which have the 30 centimeter, an artist line, and all these things, but they all go, $200,
Yeah.
$400. So this was my dip into it. The two together cost like $175, which at least was sort of within my range. So I've dipped into that higher end quality.
That's not bad too. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I liked getting them as a set, so they look good where I have them in my room. But I like that Gamera too. That's one I did. I'll probably end up getting more now.
I'd show you my Mecha Godzilla, but he's got a plug, and I don't want to unplug it. It would be very violent. You'll just have to take my word for it. It's cool.
I just wanted to show them since they were here before Kevin signed off.
Yeah, no, they're cool. All right,
Oh,
guys.
it is on peg warmers? No, don't tell me.
Thanks for hanging on the peg with me.
Bye all.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having us.
Yep.
The
see you
peg was
guys.
surprisingly pleasant, I gotta say.
Good night.